But you mentioned something, and I want us to capitalize on that a bit. You did mention that now, in today's environment, technology is the backbone of everything, right? And we know that that has transformed a lot every single industry. And I want us to talk about that, specifically looking at the market we're in at Kuwait. Where are we in Kuwait right now? When you look at the entire landscape, let's say.
Well, I'm gonna like just look at my personal life and how I deal and interact with my day-to-day life. Let's say I'm gonna go back to pre-COVID. So let's say in 2019, you couldn't get anything done with the government electronically, and today I do about 80% of my life is on Sahel or on my Kuwait ID app.
Exactly.
That digital transformation is super impressive considering it's been like 5 or 6 years since they decided to do that. And I am very happy to see how advanced things have become. And it's just, just for transparency and fighting corruption and fighting all sorts of leakage and wastage that used to happen that made bureaucracy horrible. And
this is actually, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. This is actually great. And I do want to share this with everybody who's watching. Kuwait does have an amazing system, not only one application, but multiple applications. It became as simple as renewing your driver's license in 5 minutes online. I mean, you do it from your comfort of your house in your pocket. I mean, this is, as you said, it's really phenomenal.
It is, and it's catching up to some of our neighbors too. It's not like it's a big leap. But
has Kuwait been the first country?
No, I think I don't know if it's definitely not the first. I mean, the UAE and Dubai, definitely Dubai e-government has been around for 20 years.
Okay.
And Dubai went from e-gov to smart gov and now AI gov. Okay. And so they have an AI minister. An actual minister who does AI, not an AI minister like Albania or something. And that person's job is to incorporate AI in everything the government does to become more expeditious and more capital efficient, and serve the people's needs, quicker. I think what Kuwait did is realize that we need to automate and move into an electronic environment, and they did that very successfully. And I witnessed the digital transformation in the government as one of the most important leaps forward. That's on that sense. On another sense, both Google and Microsoft and have now are moving the government into a cloud infrastructure.
Yes.
And that will help Kuwait first of all, move the government to the cloud, so that whenever there's anything strange happening, like an abrupt attack from a neighboring country, that's sudden and unjustified, and instead of finding yourself trapped, you're still continuing. And Kuwait didn't stop for a second with all the barrage that we got from missiles, ballistics, and cruise, and drones, and sleeper cells, and all kinds of things that were let's say disruption, that caused disruption, that could have caused severe disruption, but didn't.
Yes.
And I really appreciate how far the government has gone to do that. And I think a lot of it is because of the electronic nature of operations, and especially, the government itself didn't pause. Like, I give an example of the Public Institute for Public Institute for Social Security.
Okay.
And it's basically the pension fund.
Yes.
And it's Social Security. It's like 400 meters from my house.
Okay.
The building. And a drone struck it in the early days of the drone attacks, and the whole building was set on fire.
Yes, I remember.
And I have friends and family that work there. And I'm familiar with the IT department because we used to work with them back in the days when I was in the government and family business. And lastly, I myself, I'm insured by them. And I watched the building go in flames. And then they put the fire out quickly. And then the next day they distributed the retirees allowance or monthly allowance or whatever it's called.
Okay.
Well, I don't think anything gave me more faith and more encouragement in the fact that this is. I mean, you see the building get on fire, hit by a drone, and the operation still continues thanks to their digital infrastructure and thanks to their systems that have been in place. Their IT room was fireproof, so the fire didn't affect it. The servers were operating throughout the drone attacks and the fire. And then the next day, they all could patch into the network and operated remotely. And that's just a live example of what you can do when you have a solid electronic infrastructure and e-government and the digital backbone. And so that was really a testament to the importance of having such infrastructure.
Who do you think has been driving most of this technological development in Kuwait? Do you think it was more the public sector or the private sector?
Well, the private sector has always been the earliest adopter and mover, always. I mean, and specifically in Kuwait, let's say the banking sector, right? The banking sector has always been the first to move into anything. And even Kuwait was one of the first GCC countries to introduce a credit card, to introduce ATM machines, to introduce online banking. And, that is an indication, right, of what happens, not just in the Kuwaiti government, in the GCC itself.
Yes.
And GCC is also one of the first adopters in the world.
Yes.
Like one of the first regions in the world to have 5G is here. And so any developers that wanted to develop something and test out 5G, they were better off moving to the GCC and doing it here. And so, yes, the private sector is usually the first to adopt, and then the government sector will take its time to move. And of course, the biggest problem always is regulation. Okay. And the regulation is always very much delayed. And once they realize what's going on, it takes time because of the nature of bureaucracy. And today, Kuwait, things are happening at a much faster pace than before.
I was going to say that I think in Kuwait, the beautiful part is that although decisions take time, once somebody makes up their mind, change is, Godspeed. It happens overnight. I remember in COVID when we had one of the most massive digital transformations. And in 6 months, we had all the apps, all of the checks, everything was, I've never seen something happening so fast at a government level. But you mentioned something that I do want to emphasize on. You keep talking about the digital transformations, and we're talking pockets, right? The banking sector, this part. Do you feel now that we're still operating in pockets, or do you think we're closer to actually building an ecosystem?
Look, the Sahel app, right, has 30 different government entities, and each one has, at least one or two things you can do. Some of them have 20 and plus. So that's an indication that it's larger. It's a larger footprint of who is getting, and this is the beginning, right? They want to do more. And I think it's on a prime ministerial level. I think His Highness the Prime Minister, especially Sheikh Ahmed Al Abdallah, the current Prime Minister, he has been adamant from day one of taking over the new role as a PM to automate. And he's always been pressing. And I think his background as a banker, as a chairman of banks, as a minister of telecommunication, His Highness is quite aware of the importance of digital transformation because he saw the impact on the bank. And so we're very happy that he brought that knowledge with him and has been pushing that with great ministers that have been pushing their teams to do that. And I see it internally. And it's just is so much more productive. I mean, think about all the things you're prohibiting just by becoming totally digitized, right? The transparency. Before, some people who are corrupt used to hide information, and you need to bribe your way into getting your information.
Exactly.
And some people who are corrupt will destroy information that can implicate them in doing something unlawful. Now that's all gone. And
now we're kind of tracing everything, right?
you can't, everything is out there. And so
Yes.
that clears up. And then all these unnecessary people that are just, you walk into a government entity, this guy gives you a stamp, and then you go to the other guy, and the other guy puts the stamp. And then you go to a third guy that actually now has a rubber stamp.
Okay.
And you're just looking at these people and like, how is this efficient and why are they here?
Yes.
I'm not talking from a xenophobic perspective, but I'm talking about like an efficiency perspective. Like, how inefficient is this? And is it this guy has a, something on that says he's the cleaning company, but somehow he's running around with papers from one department to another. It was awful.
Yes.
And you can sense the lack of efficiency and this unregulated way of doing things, which were archaic because it's like 1960s and 1970s rules, and with makeshift adjustments for new tech advancements. It was chaos, and the chaos produced indirect corruption.
Yes.
Or what they call administrative corruption, which is not necessarily someone stealing and putting in his pocket, but like people just don't produce on time, don't show up, are slacking at work.
Yes.
And I think digital transformation eradicated all of that.
Yes. Well, I want to continue focusing on the innovation side, because we've been talking about technology from an infrastructure perspective. But now here talks about innovation. And I want to focus in Kuwait specifically. Is there anything preventing us from making the step from infrastructure to innovation? And if that's the case, what do you think is actually preventing that? Is it mindset? Is it talent? Is it...
Yeah, I mean, I just said earlier that Kuwaitis have been early adopters of technology always. And 5G was released in the GCC before other places. And so some of the technologies are here first. And because of disposable income, because of lack of taxes, people can afford to get the latest laptop and the latest server and the latest. So things are happening. Now, innovation itself requires a complete different ecosystem. It requires, if you talk about innovation in terms of scientific discovery and computer science and writing new code and developing new technologies and creating the next AI model or an AI lab, that requires hundreds of years of academic infrastructure that doesn't exist.
I'm going to make a bracket. I'm asking specifically thinking about the countries around us.
Yeah.
And as you said, for example, with the digital infrastructure at a country level, that in UAE, it was available around 20 years ago. We adopted it in more recent times. And I'm thinking they are now at a level that's far ahead of us. And knowing that Kuwait has been one of the first countries in many aspects, not only technology, but now we're focusing on technology. That's why I'm asking you, where do you think is the gap? Why is Kuwait not the first one to innovate?
Yeah, I don't think there's innovation. I think innovation is, I think there's adoption. Okay. And adoption is not innovation. They're adopting technologies earlier than we are because of regulation. I think UAE is the quickest in producing updated regulation. And I think there was a lot of issues in the way Kuwait used to regulate. And the regulatory body was called the National Assembly, the parliament.
Okay.
And that got into this like black hole of quicksand, let's say, that nothing was produced. And they're the body, the regulatory legislative branch that was supposed to do that. But now that they removed them, the executive branch, the government, has been, fast tracking everything. And this giant leaps we've seen in adopting technology now put us at par with our neighbors. That's in terms of adopting technologies and having it done in a very regulated way. I think Saudi Arabia also used data and data analysis and data science to figure out what they want, and they put their vision.
Yes.
And, they went ahead, and I think many of their ideas have been achieved. And then, you learn as you go. And, Silicon Valley has a famous line that says, in innovation, you move fast and you break things.
Okay.
Okay. So when you move fast, you will break things.
Okay.
So you don't worry about what you broke, worry about what you built.
Yes.
It's like a football game. You know, when you don't count how many scores you missed.
Yes.
Your card, did you win the cup? Yes. How many goals? 3. You know, but you missed 20 and you got a yellow card. Who cares? Did I win the cup?
I love this mindset.
Yeah, that's how it is in innovation.
Yes.
And because people that are risk averse and scared and don't want to make mistakes, and usually that's the mindset of a government employee because he wants to get the promotion. And the only way to make sure that he gets the promotion or she gets the promotion is to make sure she or he doesn't make a mistake.
Yes.
And so the only way to make sure you do nothing wrong is if you do nothing. And so they just sit down and do nothing and expect, you know, and that's sort of the welfare state.
Yes.
And that doesn't work. And so now with KPIs, which they put in Saudi Arabia, for example, and the UAE, you know, there's a KPI even on government employees.
Okay.
And you know, KPI is key performance indicator.
Yeah.
And so you can measure targets, deliverables, output, and people mistake activity and busy work for output, but it's not. You know, it's really not. Otherwise, the ants would have built skyscrapers, but they don't because they just, you know, do the same thing over and over again. That's why they're ants.
Yes.
And they're very active and very energetic and wake up every day and they just work. Have you ever seen an ant sleep? You know, they're working all the time.
Exactly.
And but their productivity is 0 because they're busy work. And that's not the point. The point is productive, smart work.
Yes.
And so I think tools like AI help us become more productive in a smart way. And back to innovation. Innovation is developing breakthrough technology that's game-changing, that's disrupting, that's disintermediating established businesses. So you go in and you change the course. And that requires innovation. Innovation means you build something new. You come up with something completely new. Like the Arabic GPT. Well, GPT is produced. So when GPT came out, American competitors came out like Anthropic. And then a Chinese one came out called DeepSeek.
Okay.
And then the French tried with Mistral and the Canadians tried with Cohere, but eventually they couldn't catch up to OpenAI and Anthropic and the Chinese. Where's the Arabic one? Even the UAE. Where is it? Right? And so that's innovation. It doesn't exist.
Yes.
They have an attempt. We read about Falcon this, Jace that, whatever, and Saudi Arabia, Humane, they launched Alam. Great development, but to get to that level, you need much, much, much more. And I think what's needed is not capital. Capital is abundant.
Yes.
Infrastructure is abundant. You can build AI centers. You can put GPUs. You can afford to build that. And I go back to my point of academia. You need established schools that have produced hundreds of thousands of computer scientists and engineers who have built tens of successful companies that went public. And those leaders are now mentoring other people based on their experience. And that's what an ecosystem is.
Yes.
Ecosystem is not putting electricity in a building, building a nice building, giving high electricity and saying, here's some money. You know, that's not how it works. That's why San Francisco is still the largest ecosystem.
Yes.
Not like Texas and not other places where there's a lot of money. Even Boston that has Harvard and MIT and it still struggles to compete with San Francisco. And if you look at San Francisco, if you look at the top 10 cities in the world in terms of innovation,
Okay.
5 of them are around San Francisco.
Okay.
Okay, there's Menlo Park, Cupertino, Palo Alto, Santa Clara, and San Francisco downtown.
We're
Okay?
learning some new things.
That's all called the Greater Bay Area.
Okay.
And if you look at the numbers, it's like San Francisco and then Palo Alto and then New York and then Cupertino and then Boston and then Mountain View. And you see, so in the top 10, and that's because it's established hundreds of years ago. You know, when California opened up, there was in San Francisco specifically, University of Berkeley, one of the top schools in the world, Stanford, the #1 technical school in the world, Caltech, and then you have other schools all there feeding into this ecosystem, hundreds of thousands of graduates every year, which encouraged companies to establish bases there. So Cisco is there, Facebook is there, Google is there, Twitter is there, OpenAI is there. And so all these people get hired and then they leave and they start small companies. And that's why all the venture capitalists move there. So you have Kleiner Perkins there and all the big names
Yes.
like Benchmark Andreessen Horowitz, Sequoia, all those big VCs who started all these companies are there too.
Mm-hmm.
All of those together is the ecosystem.
Yes.
None of that exists here.
Mm-hmm.
None of it. And so my advice always to the government bodies where I advise, either formally or informally, is stop trying to replicate Silicon Valley and start owning it.
Yes.
You are blessed with hydrocarbon, supply that is giving you lots of wealth, and you invest that wealth smartly. Like Kuwait is one of the best investors in history.
Exactly.
The KIA is unparalleled. It's over 70 years old. It's very conservative, very focused. It's bottom line driven, and it's done very well. And my generation survived because of the 1990 war in Kuwait. The KIA had the money to pay everyone to come help get the invaders out, and then put all the fires and rebuild and reconstruct.
Exactly.
And we came back like the phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that sound investment theory. So if you look at it, Kuwait exports oil.
Yes.
We export cash.
Yes.
And so these are the two exports. So how do we use the cash exports to own all the tech? And our innovation is how to own innovation, not how to rebuild it. And especially when we don't have economies of scale. We're very small.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you going to build in Kuwait? You can build adjacent services, like build, like what they're doing in the UAE and Saudi, building gigawatts, like real GPU centers, renewable energy to support communication hubs connecting the world, strategic location of the GCC, investing early in Starlink, so that we connect the world. I think that is smarter than trying to compete with China and America.
For sure. And I think it's great that you mentioned infrastructure and the fact that Kuwait doesn't lack anything. I jot down some ideas to help make the conversation more specific. And according to recent market estimates, Kuwait's ICT market is projected to grow from roughly $20 billion today to more than $34 billion by 2031. And I want to ask you, when you look at all of this growth, because it's massive, where do you really see the actual value creation?
I think there's a lot of space for automation. I think we're in the beginning here. Getting a smart app is 10 years old. We should be, light years ahead.
Yes.
And I think going from 20 to 30 something, it's a nice 50% jump or whatever it is. It's good. It's about time.
Yes.
And how many things are still done in an analog way or a traditional way in your day-to-day things? That all should be automated. And, and then education needs to get automated. Health needs to get automated. It's a lot of things are still not there. And I think we're on the right track for sure. And I even think it's going to be environmental, better for Kuwait. And lastly, I think we have too many small, let's say, low-skilled jobs that are unnecessary. And I think technology will solve that and will help with making Kuwait cleaner and safer.
Yes. You just reminded me, recently I had a discussion with somebody and we were talking about the tendering process in Kuwait, especially tenders coming from the government sector. And they were saying that unfortunately, you can't do it just digitally. There's still a lot of rules they have to respect. And they said, sometimes a single dot with a pen in the wrong place can get you disqualified. So
right. And that just sounds so primitive, right? It sounds pathetic. And that is true. And some of these processes are so old. And think about it. Some like the Central Tendering Committee. I think when was that set up, right? In the 70s or 80s? And by people probably in their 50s and 60s back then, right? So people born in the 30s and 20s were deciding how things should be tendered in 2025.
Yes.
So it's 100 years after they've been born.
Yes.
They still have influence on how things are done.
Yes.
Which just sounds so pathetic. And it delays progress. And it's dispiriting sometimes when you see these, as you said, I've been through those, when they're a dot or a paper, and then you have the Central Tendering Committee, and then you have the General Audit Bureau, and then you have some experts committee that gives you all these things are done in such an old school red tape, as they say, bureaucratic way.
Yes.
To discourage people from innovating.
Yes.
And being, more advanced. And eventually people will get sick of it. A lot of the Kuwaiti merchants, expanded their markets outside of Kuwait. I mean, if you look at the top 3 families in Kuwait and look how much they're making money in Kuwait.
Can we name them?
I don't know. I can't. I don't want to name. Okay, let's take, for example.
I can name one that I know of.
Who?
Al-Ghanim?
Well, there's several Al-Ghanims. I'm talking about, let's say, Al-Sharekh, for example.
Okay. Yes.
Al-Sharekh and Mabani. Right, Mabani.
I'm going to make a bracket here. We're not trying to create any top of any sort. We're just trying to give more information to people who are maybe not familiar with the market. So
like Al-Mabani, for example, started building malls in Kuwait, and now they have malls in 3 or 4 different countries.
Yes.
And so, and distribution of other things. Okay. And Zain. Mm-hmm. Okay, they didn't just stay in the Kuwaiti market.
Yes.
And MBK didn't just stay in the Kuwaiti market.
Exactly.
Right, and us as a family business, we set up an office in Washington, D.C. and set up an office in every GCC state, selling our products.
Okay.
So eventually, when you hit the dark ceiling of, eventually, I just want to be careful how I say this. When you hit a dark ceiling of prohibitive, bureaucratic nonsense, right? Like you just said, like that draining, pathetic central tender committing process, which only exists in Kuwait, by the way. And if you look at what Doha built and Abu Dhabi built and Dubai built without a central tender committee,
yes,
you're like, look how great they are and look how lousy it is here. And I wonder who's right, who's wrong. And I wonder when the wrong side is going to correct. And rumors have it anyway that it's going to be canceled anyway. The Central Tendering Committee. It's going to be changed back to a more efficient process. But anyway, that's a great point you raise, which is how can you automate something when you have archaic, obsolete, old laws put in place by dinosaurs who went extinct, and like, why are we suffering? Why are we being penalized by something so old and unnecessary?
True. And I think it's great that we're mentioning these things, because hopefully we will see in the future of Kuwait more and more improvement. But tell me, is there anything that we tell ourselves about the Kuwaiti tech space that is not true?
I think in nature, Kuwaitis are entrepreneurs, and they're smart, and they're innovators, and they're risk takers. It's just look, even the nature of who we are in merchant marines, right? You used to take a boat and don't know where you're going, in terms of like, how is this, today we have all kinds of technology and you can't predict the storm.
Exactly.
Okay,
yes.
Can you imagine 100 years ago when they would go and they'll take a boat and they'll put all their money in this boat collectively, and the boat will take an adventure in the sea. Maybe it comes back with pearls. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe they all die.
Exactly.
Maybe they crash. And that's called venture capital, by the way, because you're taking the original venture capital is the Kuwaitis' pearl diver missions. And so
I love it.
It's true. Look at the nature of it. They took a huge risk. It's collective capital. You get paid carried interest later.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It really is the same model.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's nothing different. I think the welfare state of the 60s and 70s and government jobs kind of like let a lot of people take it easy and enjoy the comfort of air conditioning and working 5 hours a day and getting money anyway. And then the parliament made it impossible to fire Kuwaitis. And so people just took it for granted and became extra complacent or lazy and lousy. But the entrepreneur, of course, Kuwaitis have always been ahead of the game till today. Innovation. Look at the top tech companies. Talabat is the biggest company. It's founded by Kuwaitis.
Yes, of course.
If you look at
and unrivaled in the
today,
region.
I think the biggest e-commerce distribution, I think Flowered It's a Kuwaiti company. Yes, it's Saudi now, but the founder is Kuwaiti, and it's operated with Kuwaiti, and the original VCs were Kuwaiti for sure.
Abdulaziz
is the operator, and he put a lot of money, but he was backed, I think, by Faith and other Kuwaiti VC. And so that's an example of what Kuwaitis can do.
Yes.
And, I like the team at Coded. They took it upon themselves to create an online and offline coding academy and educate people in coding. And they've trained many government entities outside of Kuwait, including Saudi and Qatar.
Yes.
And now they're working with large U.S. corporations to do their training for the government contracts they got here in Kuwait. So there's no problem. I think the Kuwaiti nature, it's in the nature of the Kuwaiti entrepreneur to be innovative and deploy technology and reinvent themselves.
Among all of this technological transformation, how much do you feel it's actually impacting the way businesses function? And how much do you feel it's still surface level?
I mean, look, the companies that moved into the first companies to have a website, the first companies to have an Instagram account, the first to have an active email, and then to have an active WhatsApp channel, right? They do much better than others. The first thing you want to do is find, try to communicate. And the ones that made it easier using simple social networking tools, won. And so if you take that basic example and take it to the biggest companies, like the big distributors of food, something so simple like rice, the ones that automated their supply chain won. They became much bigger than the ones that didn't.
Yes.
And so the ones that have like robots now.
Okay.
I'm not talking about like robots like Terminator, but like, move
things
that move robotically and use robotics and
robotic arms and
just like supply chain movement and like the cars are all autonomous, and there are here in Kuwait a few centers that
I've
do that.
seen in Nexus last year. I've seen some exhibitors who had for warehousing capabilities. They had all sorts of robotic.
Exactly. So people that use the supply chain and warehousing, and they won. So it's a no-brainer. The technology is there to make you much more efficient.
Yes.
And efficiency goes down to the bottom line because cost effectiveness is how you make more money. And it shortens time and shortens costs, so you make more money quicker. And that's the whole point of capitalism. Unless you miss the memo on that, that's the whole point. And so, yeah.